was, you know how you send something to the printers and they don't have the same font you have? And it doesn't come out looking, okay, you'll see an insert. See the insert? That's what it was supposed to have been. Their printers, their computer didn't recognize my font. Okay, you'll see the bottom page, step 25. Look at the story that has 25 at the bottom. Okay, I want you, okay, I want you to look on page 26. Look on page 26, and you're going to see the critique for what's on 25. I want you to look at this critique, and I tried to bold some of those things that, you know, I was trying to pinpoint with you. Clear controlling idea, and it tells you what it was. That's good. Introduction, they liked it, a pillar supporting the house. They used a thoughtful analogy. They used specific examples, real-life reinforcement, unified and coherent. Sentences are purposeful and varied, each serving to build meaning and depth. To me, if you want to know what they're looking for, you read these critiques, and then you read the paper. And you say, they like this, they like that. I want to see it, and it's also good to do with the kids because they'll say, that wasn't that hard. Is that what you mean? That wasn't that hard to do. You know, that sounds complicated, but you see it in a piece of paper, and it isn't. Well, let me give you,
Is that grade 6?
it's grade 7, because 7's
Yeah, right.
the writing. Guess what? I've done it for you. This would be great for you to use with your students. Here.
And another thing about these score points, you know, I talked to you earlier a little bit about the reading committee to review all the items. There's also what they call the range finding committee, where they bring in current 7th grade teachers for the 7th grade writing test. And this is after the test has been taken. They have some writing teachers that pull samples, and they try to do random sampling. It usually ends up being close to 1,000 writing samples across the state. And they have this group of teachers that sits down and says, this is what a score point 4 looks like for this particular prompt. This is what a score point 3 looks like. It is a long, hard week, but it's another one of those committees you would get a huge value out of because you see what everyone is seeing as to what our kids should be doing for a score point of 4. I am going to say this though, I've done range finding for 9 different states now, including Texas. And I will put our Texas teachers up against anybody when you see our kids' writing samples compared with others. We're doing a good job. It may not, like, you may not hear that coming back to you, but please take it back to your school that our writing samples are coming back stronger. Now, we've got some 1s and 2s that, oh, wow. But we know who those kids are probably before we go into the test, right? But for the most part, if I put y'all up against other states, there's no contest how much better Texas is doing.
Something I'm a little confused at that I've never tried to delve into. All this time I've been working with the writing, it's 1 to 4 scoring. And then several years ago, they started that other kind of scoring. And people ask me, because they're still in the samples, they're saying a 1, 2, 3, and a 4.
Yes.
And then every once in a while, somebody in the workshop say, well, what about all those other numbers? And I'm going, this is just pertaining to what they're seeing on the composition.
Right.
I'm not versed in all that other numbering system they do.
For a writing teacher, they need to worry about the 1 through 4.
That's one.
It's
I mean, because it ends up being 2 people's opinion, it becomes a math problem.
it becomes a math problem. Like it.
2 people don't agree, so it ends up.
I think you get a total of 12, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
24 total. Well, that's for, I don't know about 7th grade. For English 1, it's 24 total.
I think 7th grade, yeah, but English 1, yeah, but that's more for, because so many people wanted there to be more than one person reviewing the writing sample, which if they actually ever saw how they were scored, they'd been like, why are we complaining? Everyone says, you know, that they put the little ad out on Craigslist, which they do, but they bring all these people in and they give them hundreds of papers to score that don't count to see if they can actually do it. And if they can't, they're shown the door. And the people that supervise that and make the final decision are typically retired teachers, and they have a crew of retired teachers that travel around the United States in RVs. They are hilarious, and there's about 100 of them. And they go from scoring project to scoring project to scoring project, and they're all English
I
teachers.
can't imagine.
And they have,
Do that by
they're
retirement.
like the gypsy caravan of writing.
Here comes the circus.
Did you go to any of the states with Common Core?
Yes, it is.
What do you think about it compared to this?
I think Texas standards are stronger, but Common Core is not bad. It's the interpretation of Common Core that's gotten blown out of proportion. But we all know that everyone's interpretation sometimes just is not reality. And for science, Common Core is not in science. We have what's called Next Generation Science Standards. They're pretty solid. I think Texas is a little bit harder. And in math, I think Texas, and if you put them side by side in math, Texas is a little bit above the Common Core, a little bit ahead, I guess, if we better way to say that. But the Common Core is not bad. It's the interpretation of how to teach the Common Core that has gotten skewed. But yes, I did.
Great, thank you. I
I'm
never.
sorry, on the score, I
No,
love
never-
range finding.
Yeah, I never got into all that because I said, if they're still scoring 1 to 4, I know what a 4 is, I know what a 3 and a 2 and 1 is.
I can explain the final number, but
Yeah.
why when that's not where your focus should be?
Right. Well, the people have said, I thought they did away with the 1, 2, 3, 4. And I said, evidently they didn't because they're still putting out samples that have the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, yeah, they don't
That's
put
how
out
they actually-
3.5, they don't put out a 3.5 sample.
No. And you're English, so you know that the short
Yes.
answer died?
Yeah. For some of my students, yay.
But for
most
writing
of it-
overall?
yes, for me as a, yeah.
Well,
It took the whole.
we actually talked about this, Friday in our PLC. We met with our, I don't know if I remember, secondary curriculum director. But she said Plainview, as a high school, the open-ended was their weakest point, and so they hit that all last semester.
I'm not even gonna lie, I'm shocked because the Plainview English teachers I had, what they did to us going through high school, there's not a kid I graduated with that can't write a paper and a research paper and a white paper correctly. I mean, I'm shocked at them. Cause every English teacher I had in Plainview,
Yeah, I am as a overall, in the end, because it's the kind, to write and support your writing with evidence is essentially what you're trying to get them to at the end, and so
Yeah.
I am frustrated about that.
Well, and apparently it was mixed because, they hit that so hard last semester, and then they find out, coming back from break, that it was killed,
I know.
and so teachers are frustrated, and
I knew last summer it was gonna be killed, and they were like, nobody can know. What? Tell them now, if you're gonna do it,
It's really,
tell them.
that's really nice.
Yeah, don't make me waste my time, I've got laundry to do, people.
Okay, look at this. I have done it for you. I've gone through the paper and I've highlighted those things so that then you can turn around and show it to your students. So a pillar supporting a house, this is what they're saying about it. It's a thoughtful analogy relating to trust, which is carried to end of essay. Okay, I highlighted trust. It said, you know how this is your, it's trust, 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 trust. So they keep showing and giving examples of trust, and it's followed throughout the paper. Okay, the controlling idea. It is very important to have a dependable friend because you will always need someone to rely on that you can trust. Okay, so you read the paper and say, does it go back to this? It does whatever I'm reading and the examples relate to that controlling statement. Anything that I read, is it going back to prove that controlling statement? Here's examples of trust. Here's another example of trust. Here's an example of trust. Here's another example of trust. And you see your introduction. It's a little long, but it states it has your controlling idea in it, plus it has your plus being an analogy. And then look at your short conclusion. Your friend is the pillar that holds your house. You together, even through the toughest storms. Friendship is important. You don't want to lose it in that storm. What a great conclusion. Okay, you look and it's a simple paper, it's written 1 page, but it has all of those things that they were talking about in it. And it's good to take these papers you're talking about controlling idea, you're talking about examples, you're talking about carrying it out, show them examples of it.
And this is the seventh grade?
Yes, and it's a 4 from last year.
Okay.
All of these that I gave you are 4s. I don't wanna, I don't,
Seventh grade?
yeah, I don't wanna show you 3s and 2s and 1s. I can show you, and I can show you where they said it was weak and what was weak about it. And you might wanna show that, you know, so I have at times shown a 1 and told the students, you can't get by with this. Look what'll happen if you try to get by with this.
What's frustrating with me though is that, like, I go get a 4 for an English 2 paper, and it's like 3/4 page now broken into paragraphs, and they make a 4. And I totally get that it was like intelligent and all that, but it just shoots down everything I say. Oh, so frustrating.
Well,
I've got kids that my struggle is getting them to write more than, max a paragraph.
yeah.
You know, and getting them to understand, you're not gonna pass this test.
Get them to show their examples. Now, I used to teach in my writing books, I would have, you know, for a narrative, if you're going to do that, you know, your story, your plot development and everything, or for, when we were doing all the different types of genres. And I would say, have your point number 1, your point number 2, your point number 3. Well, then, a lot of times, they saw that as structured, and if it was too structured, it would be held against them. But if you don't tell them some structure, if you don't tell them they have to have 3 reasons and then 3 examples, they're gonna try to get by with 1 example. So, 3 is, usually when I would look at if there was 2, they would say there wasn't enough examples. If they'd show 5, that was a list.